Good afternoon and welcome to a special afternoon coffee break episode of Coffee Talk Live. I'm your host, Connie Pastorius, founder of the Strong as a Mother, Happy and Healthy Living community, which is the village that helps moms live happy and healthy lives while raising happy and healthy babies. And I'm also the creator of Pastorius Fitness, the Strong as a Mother coaching program, which is online coaching for busy moms who want to get stronger, gain energy, and live their best lives ever. So this is a very special episode because I am chatting with somebody who I have gotten to know very well over the last about 13 weeks. And she is going to share a little bit about what the coaching program that I yammer on about all the time is really like from the perspective of a client. So please welcome to the show, Alexis. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hello. Hi, Coach Connie. How are you?
I'm good. It's a beautiful enough day in Queens, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah. We're about 75 I think streets apart from each other, but
something like that. We're only a neighborhood apart, but
Yeah. So I want to dive right into this because I feel like for anybody who is actually watching or watches this in the future really wants to know what the heck online coaching really looks like and what you can accomplish from it. And you recently completed the last 12 weeks of your coaching program. You're still not tired of me yet and hanging out in the continuing coaching program. So I want to start right at the beginning with how we met. We met through Facebook through the mom groups.
Yeah.
Something going on, right?
No, we met through the Momily group, which I'm sure anybody who's here who's a Queens mom is probably familiar with. I was doing some organizing for some mutual aid for neighbors here in Jackson Heights, and Connie responded to a call to action and helped us get some great donations for a family that was severely affected by a huge fire that took place 2 blocks from my home. And so, yeah, we met through little organizing. The Mama League community is amazing in general. I've had so many moms over the last year get in touch with me through various organizing mutual aid drives. And so, yeah, we became Facebook friends after connecting over this particular issue. And, Connie, I saw some of her posts about her coaching thing and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I noticed a few of my particularly Astoria friends all kind of followed her group. And I was like, oh, well, if this person's into it, that must be pretty cool. Oh, she knows this person. All right, there's some mutual connections here. So she's probably legit. And then honestly, she posted an ad about a particular online program saying, have you ever tried this and hated it? And I got like viscerally angry when I saw it because I had tried said program and absolutely, I don't know if I can swear on here, I effing hated it. And that was kind of where it started, and I reached out to Connie from there to start this chapter. So,
and I'm really glad that you did because but I know that the online world is just like drowning in Insta famous, fitness influencers and celebrities and anybody who's done a beach body workout and then decided that they know enough to become a coach, start coaching and go fall down the MLM rabbit hole. And I'm sure you're hesitant to trust somebody who you find on the internet and is like, I know a thing or two about exercise. So what were your reservations in the beginning whenever you
like I said, like the first thing was like, okay, who is this person really? I think for me, sort of confirmation bias, realizing that like actual people that I know in real life were connected to you in one way or another. I was like, okay, well that says something. And then like, honestly, we did have a personal connection about something completely unrelated. And, that immediately kind of made me feel like, all right, this is potentially somewhat promising. And, from there, we started with what was supposed to be a half-hour call, and you and I talked for an hour. Like, we just really clicked, which was great. But reservations for me, definitely, I've tried some things in the past, and I just, for whatever reason, either made excuses for myself or just like fell off the wagon, so to speak. And
You've
so
been burned before, so
yeah, and
hesitate.
I feel like I'm somebody. One thing that actually resonated for me. You talk about how frugal you are a lot, and I know for me, if I'm like gonna spend money on something, like I'm gonna freaking get my money's worth, and I'm gonna like utilize it to the max. And in the past, with things that I've tried to do in terms of whether it was like working out or whatever, I would like do it to a point, and I was like, okay, this isn't worth it anymore, and I would just like stop.
Mhm.
And I honestly haven't felt that, and I haven't felt like anything's been like a crazy stretch for me in terms of actually meeting goals that are put forth for me, because it's really, really personal and customized. So any reservations that I had kind of going, to start, like they're just not there. And they were not there within like a week or two of trying this out.
That makes me feel really good.
Mhm.
It's taken a long time to learn how to establish trust with complete strangers and never seeing you face to face except when I dropped off your welcome kit.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different elements to this program, which is one of the things that's another challenge for me to articulate clearly. But between working with a pelvic floor physical therapist, with me as a fitness and habits coach, with Coach Erica as a nutritionist, and the mom community that you end up becoming part of, what are some of the things that you like the most about any or all those?
Yeah, I think the fact that it's really truly holistic is super important, because in the past I've tried programs where it was like, okay, either work out this amount of time, but maybe the food component wasn't there, or it was like track what you're eating for food, but maybe the workout component wasn't there. And or, there was something like published for you as like a hit list of things to do, but there was no like real demonstration or no real accountability, so to speak. It was kind of doing it on your own, right? And having like the added benefit of a community of awesome Queens moms, and actually we have a few moms from elsewhere in the country. That was something I was a little hesitant about at first, because like, I'll be honest, I kind of hate seeing like random friends and whatever when they post their like accountability posts online. I'm like, oh, good for you, whatever. But I don't know, having it within a focused group that like we're all here for a reason, like we're all moms, one, so there's like that going for us, and two is that like we have some similar goals, and rather than just like broadcasting to the masses like what we're doing, we're all kind of on the same journey together. And it's a different sort of like public accountability. It doesn't feel so like shout it from the rooftops sort of thing, which is not my style. Like I'm not somebody who wants to like draw attention to things I'm doing to improve myself. It should be about me and not about like, likes that I get online or that sort of thing,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but like I found that it's been actually a little cathartic for a lot of the people in the group, a lot of the moms, to be able to post that they had like a shit week.
Yeah.
So much, even more than having the great, I was a 10 last week, I
Yep.
hit all my whatevers, but like being able to not only see that you can be vulnerable, but
Yep.
saying that you had a bad day without judgment, in a place and people that get it and are just there for your support and say like, how can we help you? Or
Yeah.
like, I
No,
feel that.
totally. I mean, I had a couple weeks ago, I had a 3-week long sinus infection. I was like sick as a dog, and I didn't work out for 2.5 weeks. Like I couldn't, like anytime I like tilted my head, it was like, and I think in the past I would have felt like really bad about that. And honestly, it would have been kind of the thing to just derail me entirely. Like, well, I didn't work out last week, so F it. I'm I obviously can't keep up with this. And it was more this sort of thing where I was like, okay, you know what? I can't control this week. I feel like crap, but I can control this other thing. And sadly, a bunch of the other moms in the group, we didn't even see each other, but a lot of people came down with a similar sort of cold sinus thing. And we all kind of got sidelined here and there for a little bit. And being able to even just relate on a silly level like that, it's not silly, it's, you know, it's legit. But it helped me to, like, once I did feel better again, it helped me be able to feel like, okay, I can actually get back on the train.
Yeah. So you feel like seeing and sharing in this experience with other people, you're starting to, instead of bailing, you find the accountability or the support, or just starting to think differently about, like, this isn't the end of the world. I can come right back.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past, I would just feel like guilty about messing up something, you know, falling off the wagon, so to speak, for one thing or another. And like, the reality is we're all human, we're parents, we're working, like there are a lot of factors in realizing like that you can be imperfect and still, you know, do good things for yourself. Like that's something that's taken me a lot to realize, that like nothing has to be perfect all the time.
And there's no deadline, right? And
yeah, exactly.
We're dead, but
well,
nobody knows when that is. So
exactly.
That's really cool. Let's see, you brought up, so you talked a bit about the group element, and the one thing that's fairly new, the newest to this program, is the pelvic floor physical therapist being integrated into this. Not exclusively, like it's not just working with her, it's integrated into the whole, because as women who have given birth, we might be hanging on to symptoms or problems that we maybe accepted as normal, or like, okay, this is my life now. I pee every time I sneeze or laugh or whatever. So do you mind sharing just a little bit about how that experience was with you?
Yeah, so yeah, I've worked with Dr. Helene, and you know, we've met online as well, but actually did some workouts like together, which was great. And you know, it's the sort of thing, my daughter's a little over 2 now, she turned 2 in May, and I've had like a whole host of issues postpartum, like even 2+ years on. And I feel like you go to your doctor and you explain what's up, and they're just kind of like, yeah, that's what it is, you know. And I think the reality is a lot of us are just told, like, basically grin and bear it. And a lot of women are discounted regularly when they speak up about these issues. So having somebody like Dr. Helene actually understand like what's going on. And in my case, you know, I had an induced labor for my daughter, and I was in labor for close to 30 hours with her, and ended up having an emergency C-section after all of that. So I went through all of the labor and like had all kinds of issues down there from being in such a long labor, but then ended up having to deal with the surgery afterwards and all the recovery that came with that. So I've had pelvic floor issues because of, you know, the definitely laughing or coughing or whatever, and peeing. And I also had a lot of tension around my scar. And I still feel, you know, some issues with certain things that I do around my scar. And in working with Helene, you know, there were certain things that she talked about with being able to release certain things and being able to just kind of exercise other things, you know, externally, internally, whatever, that I have noticed a difference with. And these are things that, like, you know, my doctor just kind of was like, eh, you know. So it was really nice to be able to, you know, explain what was going on and have somebody like validate it and be like, yeah, this is a thing that happens, and we don't talk about it, and that sucks. So here's what we can do to make it better. So yay.
Yay. And do you feel like some of those symptoms have improved since you started working in the program?
Yeah, I mean, some of them definitely have. Other things, you know, stuff I think around my scar and all of that sort of stuff. There's some internal stuff going on still in there, you know. And what's funny is I have a neighbor and friend who is an OB, and has had 2 C-sections. And ironically enough, I was actually talking to her about Dr. Helene and some of the stuff I've been doing. And here she's an OB, and she was like, I have that issue too. Like, what? And I'm like, okay, that says something to me. Like, we don't address this stuff. Like, even from, a medical provider standpoint, these things just are like, oh, whatever, it's part of life, deal with it. And like, that's not okay, so I feel I definitely have had some improvement, and I do feel like it's part of the whole holistic thing that I mentioned before.
Yeah. I'm really glad. I'm really glad that this is sparking more conversations too with you and your neighbor and with other people. Because again, this isn't something that comes up at brunch all the time. Like,
right.
Hey, what happens when you cough? Like, what happens when you? I mean, with my friends, it would, but
sure.
It's not normal. It's not normal banter just yet. But what I've noticed and what I've hoped was for a lot of the moms that I've worked with, either now or in the past, a big factor of them continuing exercise or even starting exercise was a fear of not, a fear of making it worse and not having that confidence that what they're doing isn't going to exacerbate the problem.
Yeah.
So did you feel that having Helene oversee and connect with me on your workouts, did that help give you a little bit more peace of mind?
Yeah, definitely. And I will say, they always tell you, if you do have a C-section, they make it sound like 2 weeks is magic, that like, oh, don't do this for 2 weeks, but in 2 weeks, like, and after your 6-week appointment, yeah, you can work out again, you can do this. I couldn't walk after a month. Like, I still couldn't walk because of the way things had been fucked up and, just the pain I was in. And so the idea of like working out at 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever was just like, no. And for like another full year, like I had pain in my center, I had pain in my core, even little things like just stretching, doing cat-cow pose, which I used to kind of like laugh at in yoga. I used to do a ton of yoga before kids, before marriage, all that. And I was always like, oh, whatever, cat-cow, like, okay, whatever. And I would just breeze through it. And now I do it and I hang out there and I'm like, oh yes, but a lot of those things I was like afraid, I thought I was going to like disrupt what had been done to my body essentially, and that it was going to potentially make things worse and hurt more. And I think honestly, being inactive for several months really just, kind of did the opposite. I thought I was going to make it worse. And in fact, it was like worse the other way,
So I want to turn a little bit to the nutrition element in this program. And what I love about it, of course, I'm biased about everything, but what's important for me, from a legal standpoint, personal trainers cannot prescribe meals to clients. So if anybody out there's trainer is giving them a list of foods to eat or meals to eat, like go run the other direction. That is not okay. They are not qualified to do that, which is why I wanted to bring in a holistic nutritionist. And that's where Erica came in as this shining beacon of sunshine, because not only is she a nutritionist, she also is a licensed doula. So she understands the needs and the necessities around having to eat nourishing foods as a mom before and after giving birth. So in this program, I didn't tell you what to eat. Right. And a lot of times moms just want that solution handed to them to make life easier. But share with us what you took away from the nutrition element.
Yeah. So it's funny because to that point, you dropped off my welcome kit to me on, I think it was a Sunday. It was a weekend, definitely. And we were going to get started like the next day. And I was like, oh shit, and I got my package and my meal planning pad, which is just like, just a pad of paper with like, dates and lines and whatever. And I was like, meal plan? What the hell am I like, I really was like kind of at a loss. I was like, I don't know how to meal plan. And I will say that, thankfully my husband, who primarily does the cooking here in our home, was game for it as well. But the first week or two, he and I both were like, oh my God, how do we, like, are we really going to do this? And now that I'm like, 13 weeks into this, it's just second nature. So what we did was we thought about the things that we normally ate, like certain staple meals that were things that we regularly prepared all along. You know, when you go for your physical or whatever, your doctor will ask you, oh, do you eat a well-rounded diet, whatever. I have always felt that I ate healthfully, you know, good food, definitely a lot of whole foods, but probably snacked a hell of a lot more than was helpful. And probably like ate more of whatever said healthy meal was. And so the reality was that, like, yeah, a lot of the meals that we were already preparing for ourselves were good, healthy meals. It was just more about the fact of like truly planning it out and knowing what we were like preparing and knowing what we were going to eat each day of the week, so that we couldn't just be like, you know what, I'm tired, let's just call takeout. Because we were ordering so much takeout, especially during this whole year of COVID, like, you know, having a toddler, both working full time, just being crazy, is a really easy crutch to fall onto. So now that we sit down together and we just think about certain meals that have always frankly worked for us, just not necessarily in the right way. Now we're thinking about it a little bit differently. And, you know, with snacks and stuff, we're just being more conscientious about what we're actually eating. So.
Mm-hmm. And what support did Erica play when you had meetings with her?
Yeah, so we met with Erica a couple of times, and you know, the first time I met with her, it was kind of like exactly that, like talking about like what it was that I was eating and how I was eating it, and this and that. And it was, you know, pretty straightforward. You know, with certain things, you know, there are easy substitutes. And so we talked about some of that stuff, you know, maybe instead of having, I don't know, doing like ground beef or whatever, we've switched things up to doing like ground turkey and stuff like that, which honestly, we really haven't noticed any sort of a difference, except for that it's obviously a little better for us. But then a second call that I had with Erica, it happened to be a week that I was on vacation with my family. And it was the sort of thing, it was like, we're on vacation. Like, you know, a lot of the rules are kind of going out the window. And we had a really good talk about like how to balance like having a good time. And in my family, like big fat Greek family, like food is love and you just eat, you know. And you know, we kind of came to the conclusion that like it was okay to just sort of maintain that week. You know, if I wasn't necessarily like losing weight that week or staying on a strict regimen, it was like okay to like have a little fun, go out and have fried clams one night, you know, whatever it was. But to just try and maintain and not go just like free for all, you know. And that worked, you know, that totally worked. And now, even this many weeks later, I feel like it's a lot easier.
That's so good to hear. And did Erica or I ever tell you not to eat a food or a food group or meal?
Nope.
Nope, and I never will. Especially in this neighborhood. Oh my God. Yeah. So wrapping this up a little bit, share what your results are to date. We're in like the 13th or 14th week.
Yeah. So at the end of 12 weeks, I had lost 12 pounds, like exactly. I'm now down like 14 or 15, depending on the scale that morning. I've lost about like 1 to 2 inches, depending on, you know, proportionally, all like very good. But the biggest thing I feel like, I don't get winded doing certain things, like running for the bus. Like I used to just feel like I was going to die, and I had to run for the bus recently, and I was like, oh, that was no big deal. And I physically am feeling stronger. You know, I would say, oh, I have more energy, except like, I'll be honest, I'm exhausted. Like I work crazy hours and I have a kiddo. So like, you know, but at the same time, like I ran around on the playground with her last night for an hour, and like, ordinarily, I think I probably would have dropped after, you know, and last night I was like, feel great. I just feel better in my body, especially after having a baby. Like I felt great when I was pregnant. Like I felt like strong and confident and whatever. And then you have the baby and you're like, oh, what's all this extra stuff now? You know? And I feel better than I did, before getting pregnant. I feel better than I did before I got married even. I mean, I just feel physically good in my clothing, and, I just feel good, and random friends of mine who we haven't seen people in a long time. I've run into people on the street and they're like, oh, you're different. It's not like, it's not like your typical lost sort of compliment or whatever. It's like, it's sincere, and I know that I look different, so it's a nice feeling.
That's great. And I always like to remind moms, anybody who's listening, or just anybody in general, like, we don't have to stand on our high horse. I think I'm mixing phrases here. You don't have to stand on your high horse and say, like, it's not about the weight loss. I want to A, B, and C. Like, journey to a healthier life might include getting to a weight that's healthy for your body.
Yeah.
And for you to say that, like, 1 pound a week on average is what you were hitting, like, I bet that didn't take that much extra effort, right?
No,
Like,
it really didn't. I mean, I will be honest, like, I still don't love to work out. I probably will never love to work out. It's just not in my constitution. But I will say, every time that I do work out, after I do it, I feel better than I did. I physically truly feel better, and then mentally I feel better too for having done it. And the other thing, getting back to like a healthy weight real quick, is that, for us, we are hoping to expand our family. And I really wanted to be healthier going into a new pregnancy, so in some ways it's like, oh, you're going to lose all this weight and then gain it all back and have a baby again. And it's like, it's not about that. It's about getting my actual body at a place where it is ready for those changes again. And having known what it was like to carry 30 extra pounds on top of, like, the 15 pounds that I have since lost.
Mhm.
I don't want to carry that much weight again, because, like, it hurts, your hips hurt, your back hurts. They hurt anyways, but, like, it'd be nice to have less to carry around, literally.
And anything can happen during pregnancy. So
Yep.
going into it as healthy as humanly possible,
Yeah.
and with all the variants going around, like, this
Yep.
is probably the best thing you could do for yourself. Not to, again, be biased, but so of all the knowledge that you've acquired and the changes that you've made, and knowing what kind of mom you are, you work a very high pressure job, it takes a lot of time out of your day. What kind of mom would you recommend this program for? Because I know it's not for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I, for a very long time, always said to myself, I don't have time to work out, and I sure as hell don't have time to do, like, batch cooking and this and that and whatever. And I still don't have time for a lot of those things. But I think, at least with, like, the exercise program, it's fashioned in such a way that it's really pretty easy to squeeze in. And, like, one of your mantras that's really stuck with me, which you told me you got from Michelle Obama, was to schedule, your personal time, whatever that is, whether it's going for a workout or taking a walk, like, to schedule that the way you would a meeting. And, like, I have meetings, like, nonstop, I'm on calls all day long, and I have started doing that. I, like, block out a little period on my calendar, and I schedule that time for myself. Working from home, of course, helps. But if you're somebody who just is having a hard time squeezing it in, I think it's worth a call to Connie, and she can hopefully help you figure out where to squeeze it in. There's I could use a 36-hour day, like we all could, but there are ways to do it. And you know what? If you don't do it one day, you don't do it one day. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's not gonna ruin everything. So just looking at it kind of holistically is important.
That's great. And yeah, I'm not the trainer to hire if you're looking for someone to yell at you, or like text you at 6 a.m, like, you up?
Yeah. No,
I'm not up.
You're like the perfect amount of, like, poke, but in a good, friendly way. And you don't even have to poke much, which is good. So
you make my job easier. It's true. Well, that's great. Do you have any other words of wisdom, any kind of reflections, anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I mean, I wish I did something like this sooner. I would say I originally always thought I would, because I'm a little like OCD, I work in architecture, everything's very, regimented. I always thought that tracking programs and things like that worked for me because most of my day is like that. I am here to tell you that they absolutely did not work for me. They made me even more obsessive than I already kind of was. So I feel like kind of a freedom with doing this sort of program. Like I'm able to like stick to a plan that's not exactly a plan, if that makes sense. Sort of open-ended. It's kind of what you make of it. You can tweak it as you go. And yeah, there's no like prescription, it's just sort of like make it your own and have some guidance along the way. So
that's beautifully stated. And I just listened to a podcast earlier today that I love, and I'm stealing this phrase, but your program is written in pencil. So it can be changed. It doesn't have to be exactly as it is, and we make it work for you. So I want to finish my iced coffee that I'm having in my daughter's unicorn cup. Cute. And get along with our Mondays. So cheers to a nice chat conversation about how much ass you're kicking. Let's go Mets. I saw that cup.
Yeah, I'm actually a Red Sox fan, don't tell.
I'll edit that part out. If anybody who's watching, if you feel inspired by Alexis's story, first of all, give her a high five because she's doing an awesome, awesome job. And if you're interested in just having this conversation, I don't have any positions available on the coaching program right now, but who knows, whenever you're watching this, we can find a way to get you in here whenever you're ready. So until next time, stay strong, stay caffeinated, and I will see you all in the city. Thank you, Alexis.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Connie.